You say there is determination, but there isn't. I just don't, there's just no room for anything else. I just don't, you know, we can just keep arguing. And you're saying, why do I want to destroy it? I don't want to destroy it. I made the point, look, I was the one who was reluctant in argument with Nick. Well, I'll have to speed up this section or something. I was the one resistant to renaming the I and the me and taking that away, because I keep arguing that perceptually, from our perception, it's always going to feel like free will. So it's sort of irrelevant that it's not. We still have to play our part. Even though our part is predictable in a theoretical sense, it's certainly not predictable as we see it. And so because it's new and interesting to us is all that matters. The fact that it's not spontaneous, that it's not something that's preordained, doesn't change what we feel. And then I would further argue with Nick, who, you know, he'll at one time concede that there's this conversation in the brain, but then he denies it. Then in the next word, he again reduces the brain to this mono kind of object that is only doing one thing, and that there's no internal competition. And although it's preordained how the competition would come out, I'm just saying there are parts of us that are arguing with each other. We are not, I mean, I always hate to make this, but, you know, I hate to, all right, this is just speculation, okay? I'm not writing this down and saying this is how the world works. But we have what's, you know, you see these people that have multiple personality disorders. Well, what if that isn't evidence of a completely bizarre disorder? What if that is just a person who has like somebody with epilepsy, where the two brains can be separated and it destroys the epilepsy? Well, what if it is just that they have a manifestation where the personalities have become separated, where in the normal brain the personalities are always merged? So what if there are 7 things inside of us, 7 personalities, 7 platforms of software that argue with each other, that compete with each other to come up with a final result that we consciously experience? That's a theory. That's a way of looking at it. I mean, it's almost like if in the first year or the first moments of life, there's a foundation of, even look, here's another example, the way animals are imprinted, like ducks are imprinted to their mothers. So what if when we're first born, we have these first images and they are laid down, and then the next images are connected to those first images, okay, color blue, face, this, whatever the connections are, and we just keep laying sets of images on top of sets of images, but it starts off with, like, say, these 7 platforms, or 15 platforms, or whatever the number would be, and then it builds out of those platforms, and then at the top of those platforms you have these competing surfaces that will have that will compete, like I said, for control, or will meld into what will become the final decision, the strength of an argument. So whatever, I'm just saying there's lots of ways to try to model what happens inside our brain. I'm just saying what annoys me about Nick's perception is that he, like I said, even when he accepts it, he sort of denies it. I mean, there is an argument to have here between our intellect, our kinetically changing constantly logic and understanding, and this conditioning, this other programming that is built into us by nature and conditioning, and I think they're always arguing with each other. And for too many people, the conditioned programming wins, and all it does is use the intelligence as a tool. It just uses intelligence as a hammer to get what it wants, wherein the thinking person is using the intelligence to refine the want, to change the want, to control the behavior. It's defining the goals. So it is creating new goals for the organism. higher goals. And that's where you have this person that could jump on the grenade because they could understand the principle and understand the value of doing it, where that conditioned creature is never probably going to be able to do that. He's never going to feel like sacrificing himself, okay? But the intellect can make him understand why that's a good thing, and he can feel good about doing it. So anyway, I don't think I'm trying to destroy the idea of free will. I'm just trying to destroy these metaphors and the religion that I see connected to the lie. Or look, we're looking for the truth here, so it really doesn't matter what we want the truth to be. It's the truth. And until somebody demonstrates where there's some other source of understanding but crude biology and arbitrary conditioning, and then the last thing we have is just the influences of environment, what we read in books, and how we process, how much time we spend thinking. That was one of the arguments I used to make with Nick all the time, is that we can choose, so to speak, because we have learned that it would be a good thing to do, to think for 5 minutes, or we can think for 30 minutes. And if we do those two things, the 5-minute decision is likely going to be different from the 30-minute decision. So that's how we change what he sees as some sort of box that we can't escape. Because to me, it's all about the minutes. It's all about the time we spend thinking, because thinking is what makes all this stuff, what turns it into behavior. It's how we think about it, how we absorb it, and how we let it impact us. And so to me, who needs free will when we have all this going on? It doesn't have to be real change for it to be perceived as change. We feel ourselves change. We see it happen to ourselves. Our thought patterns change right in front of us, right here in our heads. And so I don't need to call it anything, but I just don't like people saying it's something else. Like Nick said, I mean, the truth is there isn't somebody controlling. Brain is doing the work. The program is running, and it is a program. Software.